Alright guys, at this end of the table we have the oldest fingerboards that I currently can find in my collection. There may be a box in my parents' storage somewhere with older stuff, but I kind of doubt it at this point. On the far left, you'll see here, this is the probably oldest thing I currently have. That deck is a custom-made silent fingerboard deck that I would use back when I was in middle school. So 1998 is probably when I first made this, maybe 1999. And this is made out of masking tape. I tossed on some skateboard grip right here, you can see. And it's got a side profile. It's actually pretty thick. It is just about the same size, almost as big as this 34mm Gripskin deck that I have. Probably 32.5 to 33 millimeters plus in width. It's kind of funny because back then we were using 26 millimeters. I had so many tech decks taken away from me during class, probably lost dozens of them. So up, 20 something, 30 something that were taken away just from my teachers. That's how bad of a student I was back then and obnoxious. Next up we have my oldest tech deck that I could find. This is not my first tech deck, but it's one of the oldest ones that I bought. Probably this one is either end of 1998 or early 1999. Next up we have this tech deck replica actually. It's not a tech deck, it's a speed finger deck. Don't know where the heck I got this from. I think I found it at a store and purchased it. Very similar to a tech deck in build. Definitely a ripoff. You can even see the profiles, right? Look very similar. Following next, we have an Ali Boulala flip deck. One of my favorite decks when I was younger. You can see some of my old footage. I used to use this. Let me sharpen it up a little bit so you can see it better. Yeah, it's a pretty sick deck. Have some red grip tape on there, but you can tell like here how bad the grip job is. That's just the way I was back then. I was a little kid, didn't know any better. Okay, we have a few more tech decks coming up. This Dark Star, I thought this was cool to share, probably from 2000, maybe 2001. But you can see the custom grip job. This is some Black Magic grip tape. That's what I used on my skateboards back then. And then this is some piece of paper. Like if you look closely, you'll see that it's not painted on. It's actually a layer of paper that I glued on and then put the tape over to make that cool design. Coming up next, a Black Label tech deck. This is good to highlight because you can see the discoloring here, here, and here. The reason why it's discolored is because we would heat up our decks back in the day and get the plastic pliable and warm, and then we would bend them into the concave as well as the shape that we liked. This was a common practice also in the early days of wooden fingerboard making. You would customize a tech deck to make the shape for the mold that you want to use with Bondo. Okay? It's a little bit more concave than before, a little bit higher up on the center, provided me a little bit more leverage to get flips with. Okay? Next up, this is actually not an old deck. It's probably from 2008, 2009 or so when I went to Tech Deck headquarters in California at Spin Master's California office, where that team is. You can see this is actually a prototype tech deck here. With the new shape that they had, which is better, which is a really good shape, honestly. A good amount of concave, nice steep-ish nose compared to normal tech decks. It's actually a great deck, and I actually used it for a little bit, even though I was using all my pro setups. I played around with this deck and really liked it actually. Coming up next, I believe. Not 100% sure, but I believe this is an Arctic. I have a few Arctics decks from back in the day. I was sponsored by them. Arctic was founded by Martin Ilsley, who, along with his ex-wife Tina Wade, were the moderators and administrators of FFI back in the day. They would help out Nate Thompson daycare for all the kids like me on there. Very good deck. You can tell I even still have the trucks on it. I was using this up until relatively recently. And this is some grip tape. I don't know who gave me this grip tape, or what deck, but yeah, it's a nice deck. Still have it set up. Another Arctic deck. This one is a beautiful board. Love the camo grip tape on this one. I had a lot of fun with this setup. You can watch some of my older flicks and see me using it. You can see, I think there's 5 plies here on this setup. Let me get back a little bit for you. This is a deck I'll go into a little bit more detailed with some extra shots at the end of this video. And my final Arctic, some more colored grip tape that I have. I was sponsored by them, I would say, in 2006, 2007, 2008, and I received a handful of fingerboard decks from them, and I was really excited to get on the team. I actually applied through a public tryout for Arctic, and the instant I submitted my video, Martin messaged me on AOL Instant Messenger and said, "Hey Chris, don't even bother, you didn't have to send this, you just had to say you wanted to be on the team." And I was on the team. Oh boy, one of my favorite decks here from the old days. This was the first deck I bought that had grip tape on it, or FBS or something. I actually took that off and put grip tape, because I was still not used to grip tape. It was just way too much for me back then, so I switched back to grip tape. This is an Evolve, made by Peter Ringel from Brazil, like legend, OG. He was in the scene, I don't know, maybe 2002, 2003, making decks, building up stuff, and just an amazing moderator and administrator on FFI, was a global contributor to fingerboarding. And you can see here we have Luxembourg native Joe Leclerc, the founder of Eurolt wheels, the first professional wheels that were of mass-produced quality on here. Just amazing deck. Side profile, we have very steep kicks, very steep concave, but very solid deck. This was a 7-ply, I believe. Let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5-ply actually. Just a beautiful deck, had great graphics. Joe Leclerc, shout out to you. He's back on Instagram. Peter Ringel was on Instagram, but I think he's taking kind of a hiatus break from fingerboarding for a little bit, at least from the scene. Next up, I have a close-up. I lost that truck, but here's the close-up made by Damien Bernardet out of, I believe he's out of Lyon or Dijon, one of the two. Just a legendary fingerboarder. You know, fingerboarding since before Tech Deck was around. The old FSB brand, him and Tony Potex. Those videos from them back in 1993, 94, 95, 96. And then they were in Fingers of Fury, which is a 411 video magazine. Well, Damien continued to contribute to the fingerboard scene by creating Close-Up, and he is such a great contributor. I don't hear his name and Close-Up's name nearly as much as we should. They've been supporting fingerboarders since the beginning, man. Come on. And these decks for beginners are fantastic. This is an older one, obviously. You can tell by the wheels. They're like almost rubberish. But great company. I love them so much. Damien Bernardet is one of my favorite fingerboarders all time. Same with Tony Potek. Shout out to them. Okay, guys. This is a legendary deck. This is probably the most expensive deck I have here. I had an offer for this deck at one Rendezvous for $750 back in 2010. It's a custom, one-of-a-kind Prete deck. It's a unique shape. It's 25 millimeters, smaller than a tech deck in the center, and it bulges out. It's kind of a snowboard shape. If you watch some of my older videos from back in the day, you'll see that I use this deck quite a bit. It still is one of my favorite setups, and I'm trying to find some professional 26mm trucks to set this board back up with, just to make some videos with. I don't know what it would be going for now. I mean, seeing that woobs are listed for €1,000, I imagine, since it's a one-of-a-kind by a prominent deck maker. There's no other deck like this. You cannot get this from anybody else except for me, and I'm not going to part with this deck, even for €1,000. It's going to take a lot more for me to get this away from me. I don't think there's a monetary value unless someone wants to offer me $2,000. $2,000 deck here. If you want it, $2,000. Just joking, I would never do that. I don't do that. I love Peter too much. Okay guys, we're going up to the next row here. Let me just change the zoom. Okay, starting on the left-hand side, we have a Snobstyle right here. I think I bought this or I won this in the contest. I don't quite remember. But, you know, great deck. I had a lot of fun with this. You can see the profile. Let me just turn it a little bit. Yeah. Beautiful plies on the side and on the bottom. Just gorgeous. Gorgeous deck. Next up is from Argentina, an old deck from Eko Fingerboards. Shout out to Mauro. He's doing Fingerboard Market right now, which I'm excited to support once that launches. You can see a beautiful top ply. Number 15. I guess it must be the 15th deck that Mauro made. Shout out to you, man. He's great. Great guy. Next up, we have a Homewood. Homewood was a brand founded by Justin Rodriguez, one of the early contributors to the United States fingerboard and North America fingerboard scenes. He was a moderator and eventually, I believe, an administrator on Fingerflip Inc. So you can see just some beautiful deck craftsman skills here. 32 millimeters. This was actually from August 2012. He came up to Seattle and just getting the side plies really quick. You can see that beautiful side plies. He came up to Seattle and a couple times, and I got to hang out with him twice. One time we went to a German bar together. I have a great picture of me just slamming a boot, no problem, man. I look fucking cool there. And then the second time we went to a health club that I'm a member of and had a very nice dinner with him and his wife. Next up, it's a simple deck out of Spain. And this is from the grand prize for the Ride to Glory. First place in Vert got this deck. I got first place in this deck. Look at that, first place from Simple. Hell yeah, Simple is a great fingerboard company. Look at the beautiful craftsmanship on this deck. I haven't set this up. I don't think I ever will. It's something very important to me, nostalgia-wise. But first place for Vert. You can see. Really quickly, we'll look at that right now, the entry that I have. Up next, we got Nut Fingerboards, 2 decks from them. This is by Muhammad, aka Anga Panda. Anga Panda. He's a friend of mine. He is from Indonesia. Gosh, he sent this to me. Beautiful decks, man. Look at the ply work on that. He's a good friend of mine. He was a contributor on FB Weekly for a long time. Just an OG of fingerboarding. He's done so much for fingerboarding, and a lot of people haven't heard much about him. There's a great podcast where he talks to, I think, Yana from Switchcraft. Check out his story. Heck of a guy. Here's another deck from him. Beautiful craftsmanship here. I love the graphics. I used it for a while. Great board to use. Also, he is one of the founding members. I think he might be the founder of Papanjari, which is the Indonesian fingerboard community. They put on so many fantastic events in fingerboarding. Like, that has to be one of the best scenes out there. I'm sure you've seen some other videos. If not, you're missing on a ton. Bunch of great fingerboarders in Indonesia. Next up, this is a Flatface deck. Mike Schneider gave this to me. Holy cannoli, this thing's wide, but it has so much pop. It's so crispy. The graphic is amazing, so bright and shiny. I used this for a while. It's one of my favorite setups. Hoping to get some wider trucks again, a couple 34mm Black Rivers or Dynamics, and get those set up again. This upcoming deck is from Flock Decks. It's a friend of mine named Cliff. He is out of Oregon. Super well made. Look at this deck. You know, normally I don't, it's a squarish nose, which I'm not used to too much, but I've been using this deck so much because it has so much pop. It's a great shape, so solid and well built. And look at those plies, like the Split-Ply in there. Just gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. And the thing with Cliff is he's actually a woodworker. So, you know, he's coming into deck building, and these are some early prototype decks from him. Like, he hadn't launched his store yet. And look at that quality. Just amazing quality there. Going from one craftsman to another craftsman. The legend Manu Oberla. This is a Gripskin. Just amazing, amazing deck here. I haven't set this one yet, or haven't set this one up yet because I'm waiting on some 34mm Black River trucks, but these are handmade in Switzerland. Manu's been in the scene forever. He's also one of the first fingerboarders from the European scene that was on our old forums that we interacted with. There was a handful like Joe Leclerc, as I've mentioned before. Fabian Schreider, aka Afroby, he was posting a lot too. And then also Peter Ringel from Prete decks. Manu actually is so respected, same with Peter Ringel, that they became moderators of Fingerflip Inc. And were huge contributors to the North American fingerboard scene, as far as the ways they were in Germany and Switzerland, which is amazing. Another Gripskin right here. You can tell this is one of my current setups. I've been using this deck for 3 years now. It is one of my favorite setups. I don't know, it's gonna be hard to take this setup and retire it. I don't think I'll be able to for a while. I'm still rocking it. Alright guys, I'm gonna turn the table and we're gonna look up, starting from new, alright, I shouldn't have done that, but 1 second. Let me back it up. We're gonna start from the left here, which is my newer decks. It's focused again. I have this set up here. It is a Berlinwood Hornstorm graphic. This is a 32mm, aka the wide low, I believe. Could be a wide or a wide low, I'm not sure. This is one of my favorite graphics. I'm a huge fan of Hornstorm. Rest in peace, Matthias Juncker. Shout out to the team there, like Renee Renette, Chris Heck, and Lucas Wires. They had the sickest videos back in like 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005. They're the ones that brought in like professional filming into fingerboarding. Huge contribution there. Next up, this is a brand new deck I have. I think this is also a 32 point whatever millimeter deck. I'm gonna set this up soon. I have it all gripped, ready to go. Just need to get some more trucks or retire another deck, which I don't feel like doing yet. This is a Joaquin Mendez Black River deck. Amazing, amazing fingerboard. I used this for a while, one of my favorite graphics, and Joaquin is an amazing person. He's down in Argentina now building up the scene with the Dirty Monkeys fingerboard group down there. Love this guy and love his deck. Shout out to Joaquin. Oh man, I love this graphic so much. I just wish they still made this graphic and the similar graphic like that. Just amazing graphic. Love this one. The Martin Winkler Berlinwood. I like this one a lot. Reminds me of Oktoberfest in Bavaria and just drinking some Spaten beer. Hell yeah. This is one of the most used decks I have. You know, this is another Berlinwood Black River graphic by Denise Herrmann. She was the artist. It's a beautiful graphic, but clearly I've ripped it to shreds. And this one is like one of the most legendary fingerboards I have. Use this so much. There's only a couple more ones that I would say I liked more than this deck that were more important to me than this one. There's not many that are more important than this setup right here, this Berlinwood. Which brings me to the next one, which would be one that is just as important to me. It's a Split-Ply Berlinwood. Look at this, it's so cool looking. Mike Schneider actually made the Split-Plies for this when we were living in Black River City for a few months together. We had him make the Split-Plies, and then it was pressed and put together, I believe, by Timo Lieben for me. Either that or it was Elias or somebody. Somebody made it for me. But look at that beautiful, beautiful graphic. No one else in the world has this one, guys. TKY graphic here, 29mm. Aussie Berlin. I love this graphic. Actually, so much. I set it up for a little bit, maybe for like a week, and I was like, I don't wanna shred this one much more. This is one of my favorite graphics all time, and it's one of my favorite fingerboarders. TKY, like, it should go on a wall, to be honest. Another Berlinwood, the Black River graphic. Black River logo, yellow. This is an early one of their first of the 29mm new molds that they released back in 2009. I love this deck so much too. I used it a ton, so much that you can actually see the ply completely underneath. And then the last deck I have here, guys, is one of my favorite setups. I know I said this, but this is one that I've had since 2006, I think. Berlinwood old mold. Deep, 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 deep. God, this deck is so pretty. The wood is so nice. And I've shredded this for so long. I still use, if you watch my new videos on Instagram, you'll see me pull this baby out and just shred the shit out of it. Have some flat face wheels on there. Tech deck trucks. I'm gonna get me some dynamic 26mm if they ever release those. That'd be a dream. This setup is so good, so much pop, so much fun to use. Yeah, guys. And what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna pick out a handful selection of these decks and get some close-up macro views and shots of these things so you can see better detail of what these decks actually look like shape-wise. Peace.